Recording. Back in the saddle, Mr. Sean Coots, skydiving extraordinaire and diving extraordinaire now. All sorts
Barely.
of shit.
Just got into it.
Introduce yourself, man. You don't need my dumbass introducing you.
I mean, you've had me on before, Sean Coots, skydiving instructor, not extraordinaire. Been in the sport about, let's see, my first jump was in 2012. I got my first license in 2013. I got both of my instructor's ratings in 2016. And then I've just been jumping since then. I totaled up my jumps the other day. I'm just over 2,600 skydives, and about 1,700 of those are tandems with someone strapped at the front.
Is there like, not that this is related at all, but I've been playing Sniper Elite.
Okay.
Unlike where you jump out of planes and do real things, I get my thrills from a screen a foot away. But one of the things is like, there's all these different stats, but one of the things to unlock the new weapon is like total sniping distance. So obviously it all adds up. Is that like a skydiving stat? Like total, you have total jumps, but then have you calculated total numbers? Like how many miles have you fallen? How much time have you spent in free fall? Could you do that?
So you're supposed to record each jump technically by the rules. And there's usually a section for the amount of free fall you were in given in seconds. And then there's like a total free fall block because some licenses and stuff require total amount of free fall. Mm-hmm. And so I can roughly get that if I'm guessing about a minute per jump, just swagging it. Yeah. But I also got recently, a month or two ago, 3 months, can't remember, I applied for the, 12, 24, and 36-hour free fall badge. And what was the other one? I got my 1 in 2,000 jump wings, and I'll have 3,000 here probably in the next year or so.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
For what? So what you could say, 3,000 minutes?
3,000 skydives, and then
working
toward 3,000 minutes, which is there's 1,400 something in a day. So literally 2 days falling. I mean, if you get the 48-hour free fall badge, it's two actual days falling. So
2 days falling.
Yeah. And how many miles is that? Let's say for the sake of easy math, it's 1.5 to 2 miles falling per times 3,000 skydives. Once I get there,
4,500 to 6,000 miles.
Somewhere around there. Yes.
Well, the International Space Station is 220 miles. So just a tad farther.
That's low Earth orbit, yeah.
Yeah. Geosynchronous orbit is GPS satellites are at 36,000 miles. So that needs to be your goal, to have fallen from a geosynchronous orbit.
They're pretty far up there.
I think you could do it. I mean, what circumference of the Earth is 24,000 miles, right? So
roughly.
Yeah. So yeah, you should travel the world, travel the equator at terminal velocity.
Man, if you want to look into interesting people that have skydived around the world, the guy's name is Bill Booth, and he's the guy that basically developed the tandem skydiving system. He has a jump on all 7 continents. He's got to jump into both poles.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You should. Doesn't Andy Stumpf has? I guess this is wingsuit. He has the wingsuit record, right? Because I'm total.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a total normie, and I just remember him saying that on Joe Rogan. Because clearly, I create no content of my own. I just consume, and I'm a normie with no original thoughts. But hey, this podcast isn't for self-deprecation and hatred. But didn't he wing? I think he wingsuited like 18 miles. I feel like, in all of my knowledge, I feel like that would be something you could beat, right?
I haven't seen the full podcast. I think I've seen snippets from it whenever it came out a while ago. Yeah. But for you to do that, you would have to jump from an extremely high altitude, which is not undoable. It's just hard to attain and, generally speaking, really expensive. Because the guys that said it usually have I know there's the the Army's parachute team. I cannot think of it. The Golden Knights. Mm-hmm. They had a guy that went out in a C-130, which is just prohibitively expensive for the average person to operate. But, the military does it. Yeah. And he went out at 30,000 feet or something like that and flew in a straight line. I want to say he got like 12 or 13 miles. And then I guess Andy Stumpf, whatever his name is, broke it. But I don't know the details of his jump. I assume he jumped from probably a good 30,000, 35,000 feet. And I assume he was in one of the largest wingsuits you can possibly get for surface area, so you can glide further. And I assume he's very good at it.
Yeah.
And I also assume he's fucking ripped because that takes a lot of strength.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like me jumping from 14,000 feet, if I wear one of the larger suits, I can get 3 minutes of glide time out of that. But like, you're out of breath by the time the parachute opens. Like it's hard. You're supporting yourself with your appendages like this.
Yeah.
So, and then when you get tired and sloppy, your glide ratio goes to shit. So the fact that he went 18 miles is pretty good. Assuming it's a 3-to-1 glide ratio, that means he jumped from 6 miles up.
Yeah.
At least, which is, roughly 30,000 feet. So
what are some things you take into, I feel like you try to scout or predict like the perfect tailwind. Would that help?
Oh yeah. So there's what's called winds aloft, and wind travels in different layers at different altitudes.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, so usually like the first load of the day, we pull up the winds aloft data and we try and average where we need to drop upwind, because sometimes they're going 3 different directions for the jump. And we usually refer to the first load as the wind dummy test load, because we have like an educated guess of where we should, like the point we should drop. And then we have the actual like real world conditions. And so last weekend we actually had we sent up a load of 13 jumpers, and we had the winds going in different directions, and had a strategic miscalculation and slight pilot error. And 4 of them landed back on the airport, and the rest of them were in cow fields.
Jesus Christ.
It happens.
Now, could you do like gross distance travel though? Does it have to be one direction? So could you just
know their parameters that they do for the records and everything, but I do know they track it with GPS. They have a something called a fly sight for skydiving, which is just a little GPS unit they stick on the back of their helmets, and it pulls all the data from every axis. So you can just replay it on your computer and see your glide ratio, your vertical speed, your horizontal speed, just ground speed, every single thing you can imagine as data points, it stores in there. So I'm sure that's probably what they were using. Yeah. And they're like, I think $200 to get. I've played with them before.
Yeah. You'd have to get some high altitude, because I know like billionaire, like private jets, like I know that I never knew this until like a week ago, but they cruise like higher than commercial airlines.
They can. Some of the highest jets can get what they have a service ceiling. It's called a service ceiling. They can get up to, I think 55,000 is the highest I've heard.
Yeah.
But up there's just not a lot of air, and aerodynamically things start getting a little weird in high altitudes and speed and stuff like that. So, but on average, commercial stuff flies from 28 to 41,000.
Yeah.
Usually anyone that goes over that either has a point to prove, or it's just, I don't know, they got some special reason. There's not a lot of reasons I'm aware of to travel above about 41,000.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of new into the aviation world. I'm only working on my commercial rating at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, in my mind, I had you going up in like a U2 or something.
I would love to get up to like 80,000 feet, but you can't actually exist at that altitude without a full pressure suit.
Yeah.
I think it's like 60,000 is like you have to have a pressure suit before your blood boils.
Yeah. I mean,
so
our 71 could push 85,000, and then it could shoot the drone off of its back, the D-21, back in the 60s. And they said that fucker could pop up to like 105.
Yeah, the X-45 they set all the speed records in that still stand to this day was technically in space. X-15, sorry.
Yeah.
Got into space. It got to like 346,000 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
X-15 is like, everyone always brings up the SR-71, which is badass, but like I always look at the X-15. I'm like, it was like 10 years prior.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit it exactly. Yeah, the altitudes they're all north of 300. It's like,
if you go to the U.S. Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, they have the X-15 there, which is super cool to look at. Like, it's still burnt and everything.
Yeah.
But it's actually a lot smaller than you think it is. It looks fairly large in pictures, but you get up there and you're like, wow, that thing's kind of tiny.
Well, they carried it under the wing of a B-52.
Yeah, and the big fuel tanks they had on the side looked like the least aerodynamic thing possible they could have strapped to it, but somehow it worked.
There's a great book literally called, I think it's just called the X-15 Diaries. It's pretty dry, but it's about, if you find it, and if you like the X-15, you'll find it interesting. But it's all just like journals and shit from these pilots, and like one of the things they did is they covered it in an ablative material one time.
Yeah.
It looked a little bit like an eraser, like a pencil eraser, so they could burn that off before burning the jet.
Yeah, because it burns the leading edges of stuff. Yeah. And like, there's a picture I think of the X-15 that has the pitot tube or antenna just melted.
Yeah. Then there's another. They talked about what they coated. They start to coat the leading edges with is Inconel. Inconel is what the vats are used in, like
nuclear reactors.
No, that and like it's where where I first heard that you're right is nuclear reactors, but it's where I first saw it was the actual like vats that hold melted steel.
Yeah.
You think like, well, what holds the melted metal? Like, what is that? Inconel. And of course, they strap Inconel on the front of it, and they're like, "Fuck it, go!" But
yeah, and they make jet engine turbines out of that stuff now too, and ceramic now, I believe.
It's so badass. But,
anyways, but yeah, when you're jumping from that high, I know oxygen is a requirement. You have to pre-breathe oxygen to purge the nitrogen out of your system, and then I remember clicking around a bunch of wingsuit sites a couple years ago, just seeing the options they had. And one of the options was a pouch inside of it for a mini O2 bottle, because like you're going to kind of need it for a little bit until you get down to the thicker air.
All that being said, yeah, I believe you. I think you could beat 18 miles.
Maybe. I'm small and light, so I could probably glide it, but do I have the funds to put towards that? No, not really.
Well, we just got to get a team behind you. We just got to go Felix Baumgartner on this shit. But yeah, let's pull it back around to what I initially texted you about, because clearly I have no ability to stay on topic. I'm
right there with you.
Yeah, I remember you after the first time you came on, and Sean's one of the OGs. Sean was, I believe, first 40 episodes. But you sent me fuck yeah. I'll remember you. Everyone else, fuck them. Just kidding. I love all my guests. But point being is, I remember you text me a picture, and it's you over. Is it the Palm Jumeirah or Palm Jebel Ali, or am I
Palm Jumeirah?
Jumeirah. Okay.
So there are two palms. Most people don't know it. There's the Palm Jumeirah, which is what everybody's familiar with. It's the cool looking Palm Island with the resorts and shit like that. And it's got a Dubai at the base of it, near the base of the tree, or the shaft, if you will. Yeah. And then just south of it is the Palm Jebel Ali, which is about another mile wider, but it's just a complete empty, barren wasteland right now because they built it and never really finished anything on it. So we used to just go land our helicopters on there and get out, take a leak, and then fly off.
Fuck off, fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Gotta love that Dubai money. It's Dubai is a country that just turned on cheat codes. It was like they just give themselves unlimited money.
So I'm going to correct you here. Dubai.
United Arab Emirates.
Yeah. Dubai is an emirate, not a country. Yeah. Just for the people that don't know, because I really didn't know a lot about it until I moved over there as well.
Yeah. But yeah, they have that. And then there's another one, isn't it? It's called the World.
The World Islands. Yeah, they have that. It's a archipelago, as they call it. And it's currently being reclaimed by the ocean very slowly. Because who knew a bunch of tiny sand islands in the Persian Gulf would eventually start washing away?
Man, you gotta love the romantic, poetic imagery of the earth, of us putting the earth out there, and then the ocean just rising,
reclaiming it.
Just like, hey, it's coming to us all.
You can there's one or two islands out there that are populated. I don't know what countries they are. I'd have to look it up, but they have a cool resort and some private stuff out there. I think one of them is like an underwater hotel.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's cool looking. I'll give them that.
I mean, hey, they gave it the old college try. They realized that either oil wasn't going to last forever, or it was going to last forever, but everyone was going to move to something else. So might as well take that stupid money and turn it into a tourist destination.
Yeah, I think something like 90% of their income is from tourism now, not oil.
Which is smart.
Dubai. Yeah.
Which is brilliant. Problem is they're still got those draconian laws where it's like no alcohol, like no sex.
You can have alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's fairly westernized over there.
Okay. All right.
They tried to copy and paste America, but keep Islamic values. So in Dubai, because all of their money relies on tourism, they have to be fairly tolerant to the Western world.
Absolutely.
So like you can get alcohol. The caveat is it's usually only at hotels, because hotels are the only place that can afford the alcohol license for it over there. It is what it is. Yeah. But it doesn't really keep you from getting alcohol over there.
Yeah. Well, that shows my limited knowledge. Yeah. Yeah, that is as if Las Vegas became a whole country.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could. Point being though is you jumped over that, and so, but did you land? Did you just fly over Palm Jumeirah, or did you land on that, or did? You...
So if you actually look it up on Google Earth,
perfect entrance for the photo you sent me.
Yeah. If you look it up on Google Earth, Skydive Dubai is basically at the base of the Palm, and 2/3 of the runway is a man-made pier, essentially, which is pretty cool to see in person anyways. But because of the scale of the Palm Island, you're not really jumping over the Palm Island exactly because you have to come back to the airport.
Okay.
So you get dropped directly on top because the Palm Island, if you do the little measurement tool, I think it's somewhere around 3 miles.
So for everyone listening or watching, I'm pulling up the images Sean sent me of him jumping over. And okay, so sorry, repeat that. I was trying to get this picture up.
Oh no, you're good. Skydive Dubai is at the base of it, and because of the scale of the Palm Island, unless there's some really weird wind that day, you're not going to be dropped over the Palm Island directly, because you have to be able to fly the parachute all the way back and land at Skydive Dubai. And if you look at the scale of it, it's like 3 miles. So you're not generally going to be dropped all the way out there. And if you did, you would have to immediately deploy your parachute and just hope that you had a good tailwind.
Yeah. And so again, for everyone watching, I'm pulling them up right now, but like a moron, I'm zooming in and out because I'm a child. So I'm just going to overlay these onto the video so it'll look better than me just. Yeah, so I got you with you taking the picture over it. In my mind, I didn't realize just how big this was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Palm Jumeirah is a smaller one. I think it's 2.5 or 3 miles across.
But still, I mean, just on the leaves or whatever. They're
called fronds, technically.
Fronds, yeah.
Yep.
I thought there would be like a couple houses. I didn't realize that it was like full.
Oh, yeah. And they're actually pretty cool. Each frond is like a gated community, essentially. And when you fly over at night, you'll see all these awesome houses that have like LED lights in the house and the pool, and it's changing colors as you're doing it and shit like that.
Yeah.
So, which one in particular are you looking at? I'm clicking through them as well.
I went through 1, 3. Now I pulled up that one. It's you with the plane over you.
Yeah.
I think it's 15899. 15899. Okay, yeah, I just pulled up that one. 15899. Do you have that?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So can you walk me just through this?
So this is my first jump that I did there. So Skydive Dubai is, to explain why I have this picture in particular, Skydive Dubai is considered really the pinnacle of drop zones, skydiving drop zones in the world.
Okay.
It's very picturesque and everything because, of course, you have this giant man-made island, and it's got near the excess of Dubai. But Skydive Dubai, they have a very high reputation to uphold for safety and just everything else like that.
Sure.
And it's not a very forgiving place to jump because there's not a lot of alternative places to land.
Okay.
So it's a very tight landing area. So you have to have the highest level license you can earn, called a D-level license for U.S. licenses, which is 500 jumps minimum for the license alone. But they also have a stipulation of you have to have at least 1,000 jumps before you can jump there as well.
Okay.
So
it's not,
and what?
Not for any.
No, not at all. And then on top of that, 99% of the jumps that happen at Skydive Dubai near the Palm, because there's 2 locations. There's one at the Palm Island and there's one in the desert. 99% of the ones that happen at the Palm Island are tandems because that's where the tourism is. And so they keep that mainly for tandems. We call them tandem factories for the most part. You can still show up as a licensed jumper and jump there like I did. But what they made me do is, because they didn't know me and I'm a new jumper there, I had to get out and do what's called a hop and pop. So I had to get out at a lower altitude, 5,000 feet. Just me. I get my entire separate pass of the airplane, jump out. They keep going up. And someone, the person that runs the landing area, basically, I can't remember their actual name, but they actually watched me jump out, watched me open the parachute, and made sure that I flew my parachute safely, predictably, and landed accurately before I got approved to go all the way up to, I think it was 12,500 there.
Okay.
So this was my first jump, and that picture of me going out of the plane was just my my hand mount coming out, and I was doing my hop and pop. So I exited and then immediately deployed my parachute within 5 seconds.
Okay. All right. And that's the one where it's Skydive Dubai in the bottom of the...
Yep.
Okay.
Where you can see my orange shirt, my hairy ass arm.
Yep. Yeah. Hey. Beautiful hairy arm.
Thanks, man.
Got you, bro. I think I already pulled up that one. We just went through. Fuck. Yeah, I definitely need to learn image sharing better if I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, this is my first time using Zoom, man. I always just use Skype with you.
Yeah. Well, I use Zoom because it saves its own video file, and so I can upload a much smaller one quicker.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, now I'm pulling up the one with you, the big orange, black and orange thing.
Big black and orange. Oh, the hula hoop.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it is. All right.
Yeah. We did a hula hoop jump.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I think I sent you all the pictures of it. Yeah. So it was just a black and orange hula hoop. We had this was last weekend. We had 2 people jump out and hold it, and then everybody else went flying through it. And it's a little trickier than you would expect because if you want to fly through it, you got to remember you have an 8 to 10 inch rig on your back, so you're a little taller than you expect.
Yeah.
So you have to aim towards the bottom of it.
Okay.
And then for you to get forward motion, you have to kind of extend your legs a little bit. But if you do it too much, it tilts you up like this. Okay. So to go through, a lot of times what happens is, and I did this too, was I caught my heels on it as I went through, and it wasn't bad. It just kind of kicked it. But one of my other buddies, let me see if I can send you that picture. He ended up flipping all the way through the other day, which was kind of entertaining, like upside down.
Yeah.
1 second, I will have that one
no,
for you.
You're fine. Hey, we're both. This is a learning experience for both of us.
Yeah, but
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, I see the one where it looks like the guy's neck is.
Oh, did I send that one? I couldn't remember which ones I sent.
Yeah. It looks like his. I don't know if it's just a freeze frame of him flying through it, or if he caught his neck.
Oh yeah, 6. 6, I think is what I labeled it. Yeah.
Six,
yeah, that's him. That was a guy named Felix. He ended up catching himself and flipping over, but no harm, no foul.
Jesus. Do you think that there will ever be like? Did you ever play Just Cause?
Nope.
God damn it, Sean. It's
sorry, I'm boring over here.
Yeah, Mr. Skydive. Yeah. Point being is it's with any video game where there's like a wingsuit or a parachute, but it's you jump really high up and then there's like rings you go through. Do you think there'll ever be like VR, like when you skydive? Not VR, sorry, AR, augmented reality. Do you think there'll ever be like actual rings and you could try to turn?
I'm sure it would be in the works. I'm pretty sure everything exists that you could do it. You just have to have the underlying knowledge set of both skydiving and money and the knowledge to work with AR.
Yeah.
I know they have a VR. I don't remember who had it, but they had a VR wingsuit simulator where it kind of hangs you basically in a harness level in a wingsuit. You have the goggles on, and then there's like a fan in front of you or something, and you kind of get the feeling of doing it. I think I saw a picture of that one, but I don't know where it was at. And then as far as obstacles, I guess you could say, flying in wingsuits in the sky, Red Bull either used to do it or still does it every year where they have the wingsuit races. Okay. And they have hovering helicopters with these little pylons below them, and it's basically a giant slalom and stuff like that. I think they call it the Red Bull Aces or something like that. I can't remember.
Why isn't that shit in the Olympics yet?
Good question.
I mean, we have luging, right? Luge, we have.
Yeah, we have fucking curling.
Yeah, you're right. We have curling. Why can't we have wingsuiting?
I couldn't tell you, man.
Maybe it's like the lethality.
When it's skydiving and not base jumping, the risk is pretty low.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, and we've gone through that before. Yeah. But I mean, in general, to other Olympic activities, it's probably.
I don't know, man. Luge is pretty stupidly like.
So is risky. It is,
like
So is toboggan, right?
Maybe. I don't know much about that one. I know a couple people have been killed in luging in the last 5 or 10 years for the Olympics. I don't know if it's at the Olympics or just at practice, but I do remember that's happened.
Yeah. I mean, dude, they're fucking booking it. They are.
Oh yeah.
Booking, and you're on ice. So yeah. I mean, it's a broken neck. Like.
Well, the one video I saw, that they went out of the turn and the dude flew out and he hit a steel I-beam basically flat, and that one pretty much killed him. Yeah, he just got slung out. So I'll stick to skydiving because it's actually a lot safer.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, I could see it not as objectively dangerous, because you've explained that to me how it's actually
pretty safe.
I'm looking at it just from like the Olympic viewpoint. In all my experience planning Olympics, it's just like, are we just gonna have someone eat it in front of 1 billion people on TV.
Yeah.
That's how I see them looking at it. But yeah. So
I mean, they did a base jumping on the Olympics one time. It was what year was that? They did a intro. It was in the UK. Someone that was dressed as Bond, I believe, and they were saving the Queen, and they did that base jump from the top of the big arena they were in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what year that was. I want to say 2016 or something like that. But yeah, they essentially did base jumping on the Olympics for the intro thing.
Have you seen those videos of there's like Navy videos, but it's the guys with like the 4 jet engines on like feet?
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to become a thing, or is that kind of like the flying wing thing where it's like you could do it? I was about to say, but do you just have fuck you money to throw at it?
Yeah.
Ah, man, but there were some badass Navy videos of them just going from like destroyer to destroyer, and they're just warming it, and it's like, oh, this is gonna. They
had one come out a couple months ago, maybe a year ago, I can't remember, of them at Skydive Dubai, and it's a dude that's standing on their runway, which is a giant bridge with the jet wing, and he just kind of takes off and then just leans into it and just goes flying around Dubai, and then he comes back down and sets down.
My people.
I take that back. He parachuted back in.
Yeah. My people need me, and just
gotta go.
I wonder if that. Never mind, that's retarded. I was gonna say, if we can figure out everything on how to get to Mars, I wonder if that's the way to go. Low gravity, moon, low gravity. You just get in some fucking. But I figured, why don't we just take one step at a time?
Yeah, it doesn't take much to go on other planets, though, when it comes to gravity. So it'd be pretty easy, I would assume. But while I'm thinking about it, I was one of my skydiving students / tandems that I took a couple months ago. Said that she saw the whole podcast thing that we did. She's like, I was on Reddit and saw you. I was like, oh yeah, you're like the first person that's ever said that to me.
Woo!
Yeah.
Shout out to her. Yeah, man. It's always weird when someone sees the podcast, because I'm still in the assumption that no one watches it. So every once in a while I'll get feedback like, hey, I saw that, and I'll be like, I didn't know this actually existed outside of my like bubble of space time. Like, yeah, that's badass though.
Well, she was like, I saw you online. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, Reddit thing. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, fuck.
Only person that said that.
Woo! Hey, man, I'll take it. It's a win for us.
And then I found myself on Reddit the other day in the skydiving section from a dude that I took on a skydive. Yeah.
Boots. Climbing the ladder, buddy.
Yeah, one small step at a time.
Small step at a time. Yeah, so what is there like a definitive, because you're talking about all like this standards, I'm not sure if that's the right word. Skydive Dubai, image to protect. They've got a reputation to protect, and you got to be able to do X, Y, and Z before you can do that. Do you find that, I don't know how to word this.
Okay.
Do you miss that? Do you miss that sort of upper echelon, that sort of barrier to entry versus doing it more frequently and doing it at home and teaching people? Is there, I don't know how to word this.
So at the time that I was over in Dubai, I wasn't working a skydiving gig. I was contracting for their military over there, and Skydive Dubai just happened to be there. So I wasn't in Dubai to work in skydiving. Now that I'm back in the US, that's what I do on the weekends and everything. So I jump a lot more frequently now because I'm paid to do it now. But I mean, it's nice to go somewhere where there's like super professionalism like that, but it's also restrictive in a sense, and you don't get newer people, and you don't get to teach people and stuff like that. So it's two different sides to it. It just depends on what you want. I like where I'm at right now. Get to take a bunch of people on tandems, get to teach a bunch of people how to skydive and get better at it and stuff like that. And even recently, one of my friends, I'll send you a picture actually, one of the guys that was an AFF instructor, who's an instructor which can teach you to skydive, that I jump with there, just got his tandem rating. And for the basically for a tandem rating, you have to do a special tandem training course that involves 10 jumps total. And 5 of those jumps are with the tandem instructor examiner, and the other 5 are just with licensed jumpers. Okay. And so what I did was I volunteered to go on the last 2 jumps with him as a licensed jumper, and actually teach him how to do tandems in real life, just things to consider, little tips, tricks, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things for tandems is exiting, because a lot of times people don't listen to what you tell them for having a stable exit, and they essentially fight back, which can cause some problems. So I just told him, like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what you should expect. Fix it. And I'm just going to basically be running under you and stuff like that. Keep us stable and do your job. Because it was one of his last jumps that he got to do before taking actual people. So
yeah,
let me find this file real quick.
You're good. Yeah, I'm spotty. I didn't know that. Were you contracted for the U.S. military or for the UAE?
The UAE.
That's badass.
Yeah, so I technically was working for a UAE company.
Okay.
An Emirati company, rather.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was over there for a year until they decided to terminate the contract and get rid of the expensive Americans and put the cheap Colombians in there.
Get rid of Whitey. Fuck that guy.
It's basically, we're expensive over there, but
hey, it's
not my problem anymore.
No, it's not. Yeah, I feel like in all of my experience, it's almost like I definitely enjoy to do more frequent podcasts rather than like some people that they do like one a week and it's like scripted and rehearsed, and like I'm sure you could get like huge guests doing that, but I like doing it every day and I just like talking, and it's like, to me it's like it's fine honing it and you're getting better and better at it. I feel like that's where you are with like jumping here in the US, is like you just get to do it all the time, right?
Yeah,
you just get to stack up jumps and you just again and again and again, and you're fine honing that skill.
Yeah, we've actually been setting our records this past month or so for total tandem jumps done in a weekend and total loads we've flown. So we've actually been doing quite a bit.
Fuck yeah. Did you send that?
I'm still working on it. I thought I had it on my hard drive.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what can you say what it was, what you were doing for the Emirati company?
Oh yeah, so basically my job in the military when I was in the US military was crewing helicopters. Basically managing the back, helping them get into tight spaces, stuff like that. And in the UAE, they have their helicopter pilots that go to the US for their initial helicopter training, and then they come back to the UAE and they learn to fly Blackhawks in particular. So that's what I was doing, was just crewing for them. I didn't have to do any maintenance, which was super awesome. I literally just flew in the back and got paid to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
not shooting anybody in the face or anything like that. The UAE is not a combat zone.
Yeah. Yeah. So the skydiving there, that really was just unrelated.
Yeah, it was just happenstance essentially. Like I was there and I always wanted to jump at Skydive Dubai, so I just did it.
Is there an equivalent in the US? Is there an equivalent sort of like upper echelon kind of, more professional, tightly controlled thing?
Not really. I mean, there's drop zones that have minimum license requirements, but that's usually just because of the area they're located in. It's a smaller landing area, and there's not a lot of alternative options for landing if you're not on the airport.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's not that many of those.
Yeah.
So.
Well, fuck.
Yeah, there's a bunch of drop zones in Florida down here. Like one that comes to mind is Skydive Sebastian, and it's just it's Sebastian, Florida, but it's right along the coast, so they have pretty good views if you're looking for coastal places to jump. Hawaii's got some good views. I've just never been down there. And what else? I think there's some in California near the coastline, but I don't think there's any other super scenic areas for stuff like that. I'm sending a picture to you.
All right, let me pull it up.
I have it here right about meow.
Right, yeah. It's downloading. Yeah, I was thinking. I don't know if we went into this last time, but I was thinking like if you had just done like a full moon jump, middle of the
night jumps are a thing.
Yeah.
So night jumps used to be a mandatory requirement for you to get your D-level license.
All right.
They have some alternatives in place now because enough people complained about it, but honestly, the alternatives are a lot harder to do than just 2 night jumps.
Yeah.
And so what they normally do is they wait for a full moon night, so you have the highest amount of ambient light, and as long as it's clear and not overcast. And you go and do night jumps. They have precautions and things like that, where you have to take a flashlight with you so you can look up and inspect your canopy as it opens. You have to have they use basically glow sticks or some sort of colored light, usually red on the front. So if they're heading at you at night, you just see red. and a green on the back.
Okay.
Which obviously makes sense. And then you're supposed to have a strobe light on you as well that makes you visible for, I think it says up to 3 nautical miles at night. But when it's dark and you have a flashing light, you can see it pretty far out.
Yeah.
I have probably 8 or 10 night jumps, and I fucking hated every single one of them. And the only reason I did more than the 2 required is I had prepaid for them, and we were jumping literally at midnight as the ball dropped going into 2017, I think. And it ended up being like sleeting conditions. Like once I got out in free fall, like it just overall sucked.
Just sucked.
But it was a non-refundable thing. So like I just did it.
It seems like that's the caveat of like all. Have you ever seen, there's like a, you know, there's a like big, like, I don't know, like think of like a New Year's Eve, like flyer, you know, for like a bar or something, you know, it's like tonight only. And it's got all, you know, it's just some shitty come and spend your money at 10 times the normal rate. But there's a funny like meme that I saw a couple of years back, and it's like New Year's Eve, and it's like nothing different than any other, but it's all the same text, and it's it's like your date and or girlfriend crying in the bathroom because you didn't have the right selfie. Alcohol at 12 times the normal price. Vomiting, maybe fighting with your ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend. New Year's Eve, tonight only. Tomorrow morning, why did I do that? But it seems like that's New Year's just in general. Fuck it, we're going to jump at midnight on New Year's. It's sleeting, it's dark, it's cold. Fuck.
Yeah, it wasn't enjoyable to me. Some people loved it. But I tend to not do those anymore just because it's an excessive risk in my book, which sounds kind of funny because of how much I skydive. But like really it is to me an excessive risk because you're flying a parachute that's only going down. It's never going back up. It's not a plane. It doesn't have an engine. It can't go around and try again. So you're essentially flying an engineless plane that has to land sometime soon in the next 2 minutes into a dark abyss. Now, if you land on the airport where everything's planned out, you usually have headlights out there illuminating the landing area. If you don't land on the airport and it's dark as shit way out there in the country where most skydiving drop zones exist, who knows if you're going to hit a tree, a fence, a power line, anything like that. You're just going down into a black abyss and hoping for the best.
Just to say you did it, yeah.
Just to say you did it. To me, it's not worth it. I've got the required amount to get my licenses, and I've not really done many after that.
Yeah, no, I feel that. That's, So let me pull up that picture downloaded. Is that your beard going up?
Yep. So that's my other buddy, Sean Sylvester.
Okay.
He's now a newly rated tandem instructor. And I was just riding on the front, just trying to spin him around, mess him up, do everything I could to teach him what actual tandem students are going to do.
Yeah.
So
just fuck around and.
Yep. Because when you go through the tandem training program, they start you easy and then they work up a little bit harder. So they'll cooperate with you on the exits and make it nice and smooth and stable. And then they'll kind of throw you for a little bit of a loop, trying to do like a flip coming out. But after that, the last 5 jumps with licensed jumpers, a lot of times jumpers just do it so they can get a free jump. There's not a lot of learning value in that, which is why I said, hey, I'll go up with you. I will teach you all these little things for adjusting harnesses and all this other little stuff. That way you get a taste of what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
And it was all right, cool. Let's go do this. And if you watch the video, I'm running under him. I'm doing like swimming and just kicking around sideways and everything. I'm like, that's what you get. That's what happens.
Yeah. Is it true that, I don't know if what I saw as a video, it's probably you that sent it to me, but yeah, it's like people who decide at the last minute they're not going, and it's just like, get off my plane.
I don't know if that was me. I've seen the video of like the paratrooper dude where they stop in the door and like they just kind of shove them out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, when we're tandem skydiving, I can't really force you out of an airplane in flight. But the thing is, if we're in the door and you say no, sounds an awful lot like go to me. Plausible deniability. Once we get out of the plane, we're not going back up. You can't climb me back up from the plane. We've gone. You're in my world at that point. And no one ever really regrets doing that. But the thing is, we're not going to stand on the door and wait and talk about it because we have a line of people behind us that still need to get out. This plane's flying 100 miles an hour, just farther away from the drop zone every second we take.
Yeah.
And so basically, I figured it out one day. Every extra 1 second that you spend in the door of that plane, not exiting when you should, is about 5 seconds that we have to fly our parachutes back. Okay. So it kind of compounds quickly if you have one person that refuses to go and takes an extra 15 seconds or something like that. We'll actually have to turn the plane around, do another loop, and that's a lot of time. That's a lot of fuel. It's money.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, I've had some people get up to the door. They're like, I don't think I can do this. I'm like, yeah, you can. Hold on, let's go. And just backflip out of the plane.
I believe in you. Fuck it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Just no time for holding on.
Yeah. So there's kind of a fine line between like, is that a real no, or is that just like I don't think I can do this, or a hard no?
Oh my God.
Yeah. In 1710, I've only had 2 people ever straight up refuse to go and ride the plane back down. And the first one was a dude that had actually been skydiving before, so I don't really know why that happened. And the second one was one of the Red Bull girls, the ones that come around the Mini Coopers and give out free Red Bulls and everything. And she was having like a full-on emotional breakdown, like running makeup and everything. And like if we had gone out, not only would it have been a safety hazard for the both of us, but it would have been like lasting emotional trauma for her, and I'd just rather not do that to someone.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing: is riding one of those planes down, especially one of the sportier ones that we jump out of, is almost as scary as a skydive, because once the last person goes out, they just kind of roll the plane and point it towards the ground, and they'll pass you in free fall sometimes for the first couple thousand feet.
Yeah.
So, because like usually the plane is landing before I've landed in the parachute. Okay. I'll be at like 1,000, 2,000 feet, look down, and the plane's touching down on the runway.
Okay. Yeah, so those pilots don't give a fuck.
Not really, no. They just point it at the ground and make sure they don't exceed the what's called the VNE, the velocity to never exceed speed, for the structural integrity of the plane. Point it straight down and go. Time is money.
Yeah, fuck that, yeah. Isn't that what they do with like new aircraft? Not necessarily every new aircraft, but it's like...
You're thinking of flutter testing.
Yeah, flutter testing.
Yep. They do flutter testing where they take it up really fast and make sure it doesn't vibrate itself and flutter. Which, if you've seen the testing videos of why they do flutter testing, you've seen like older videos from like the 50s and stuff, when they're designing, the wings will actually start oscillating and just bending and getting all warpy. You can just look up flutter testing on YouTube. It's amazing what happens, and they have actually torn planes apart. Yeah. So that's why everything has to go through flutter testing, and that's why they have those VNEs, the velocity to never exceed.
Yeah. I've seen the flutter testing videos for the A380, which are just crazy, because you have this monster, and you see them, and they're like, we're at like 0.98 Mach, and it's like that thing should not be moving at 0.98 Mach. Like it starts to bend. Yeah, it starts to bend the mind a little bit. You're like, that shouldn't be doing that.
A lot of those larger planes actually have counterweights that are in the along the wing and near the wingtips, and some of them are actually depleted uranium because they're really small and very dense, and that helps get rid of the flutter.
I never knew that, but that makes sense. Yeah, it's because I've heard, or I've like watched, like I love watching like little like 10. There's some good YouTube channels out there where they just kind of like they use flight sim to like recreate famous like plane crashes, and they're kind of like little almost like mini documentaries, like 10-15 minutes long, and they teach you about what where the cabin depressurizes or whatever, TWA 800, all these things, and they just kind of they do it, and as well as they kind of show you, and it's always really terrifying. But I remember one of them was like there's one depressurized. One of the times it depressurized, and obviously, but something happened to where it banked. It just went straight down. And it's like the people on the ground noted that they saw it falling but didn't hear it, and it's because it broke the sound barrier before the wings tore off.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty tough, but in a depressurization case like that where it went into a dive, it was probably because whatever explosively decompressed probably took out the hydraulic lines and they lost control of it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just the idea. What's weird is I'm having him on. I've been trying to get this guy on since like February. Garrett Graff, author of the book Raven Rock. It's all about nuclear bunkers and shit, but there's a chapter on 11. And I know this doesn't seem exciting to you. I've been trying to get this guy on. I've been calling him every week for like 8 months, like not exaggerating, like borderline harassment. But he's finally going to come on after the election. So, but point being is he has a chapter about 9/11, and it's about it's 2 really neat things about Air Force One that I'd always suspected, but it was just wild speculation and not based on anything. But this book was, I think, the best-selling book on Audible in 2019. This guy works for Politico, professor at Georgetown. Well, respect the guy.
Are you going to tell me about the rocket-assisted takeoff?
God damn it! Did I already do that?
Well, I knew a little bit about it and how it's not
Fuck this.
Publicly.
Fuck this! You are banned from my podcast. You are. Yeah.
Yeah, because they said that thing took off in an inordinarily short amount of time, and it was quite loud. on 9/11. Yeah.
Yeah, there are reports from police officers around the airport, because remember they thought they spotted guys with Stinger missiles.
Yeah.
Obviously, just sort of fog of war. But there's a report from a journalist on the plane, and them being like, "Why am I like vertical?" And like there was some aide on the plane that says there's only two 747s in the world that can do this, and they're both Air Force One.
Yeah.
And then there's the report from the officer on the ground who said, he's like, I've never seen a 747 go nose over tail, straight up, accelerating.
Yeah.
Like just into the sky, just kind of did like that kind of maneuver. And the other thing is, they're also talking about, what is it? It's the F-16. It's the only time on U.S. soil that they've ever had fighter jet escorts, and to keep the plane escorted the whole time, they would have fighter jets kind of have like
handed off,
one at a time, just kind of cycling as this thing went around the country, all the while not telling anyone where they were going. So it was just weird. They didn't tell Offutt Air Force Base they were landing there until like 5 minutes beforehand, because it was like, who do you trust? But there were reports from the F-16 pilots, and it's like, I know this sounds insane, but we were on afterburners, and we could not keep up with it. Which is, it sounds like bullshit, right? You're like, how does the 747 do that? But I mean, at what point it's like, what do I go with? What I know, a 747 can't do that? Or from the F-16 pilot who was like, well, I was tailing Air Force One on 9/11. I'm telling you, we were like radioing.
It was hauling ass.
Yeah, the pilot is Tillman. He's like, yeah, we were radioing to him where we were like, can you like slow down?
Yeah.
And he was like, no. So it was just these Fs, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But what is that? Is it supersonic? If any 747 could do it,
it would be that one.
Yeah. And of course it would be classified, right? You would never
it would be classified. Yeah. I don't know how well the aerodynamics of a 747 work when you're going supersonic.
Exactly.
But I'm sure they could probably figure it out with enough money and with enough thrust, really anything will fly.
Yeah,
so.
Thrust we trust, yeah.
Yes.
And that's like the caveat. It's like, I guess it could if you had money and a need. Well, the president's detail, I think they have the money and the need. So that's why I kept thinking. I was like, you know what? If there was a plane to do it, what other plane would it be?
It's that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's EMP shielded. It's the only one with an anti-missile system. Yeah, it makes sense. There's a girl I know whose cousin flies the duplicate, because there's two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, can you get him on the podcast? And she was like, I'll try.
It's probably going to be no.
Well, she told me the next day, she was like, so it was a resounding no, and like a please don't ask again. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I figured that. I figured it was going to be that. I don't know why I thought it was going to work.
All they can do is say no. So.
Yeah. But it was like, no, like absolutely not. Like my wife doesn't really know what I do. But yeah. Anyway, having that guy on, I'm going to pester him about that. But yeah, with flutter testing doing that. Yeah. I don't know how we got into flutter testing.
Oh.
Fuck if I know.
Flying, skydiving, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel like that's if someone was like having, like you said, an emotional breakdown. I mean, that probably wouldn't look very good for the company if there was like someone having like running makeup and
well, and just it's a bad precedent to set.
Yeah, we're gonna kick you out regardless.
Yeah. And I've had it happen a couple times with students that I'm teaching to skydive, and it's not usually because they don't want to jump. It's that they get in their own head, and when we're reviewing what we're doing in the plane on the way up before we jump, they can't tell me certain things. They just blank out.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, hey man, like I know you want to jump, but it's probably not a good idea right now. We're just gonna ride the plane down. We're gonna talk about it, and then we're gonna get back up.
Okay.
So, because I don't want to force you to jump and then your performance sucks and then you hurt yourself and everything, when we could have just rode the plane down, talked about it, and gone back up. I even had one student that did it. We were loading the plane, and he did great briefing. He knew everything. He seemed super confident getting the plane. He's like, I can't do this, and he got out. All right.
I feel there would be a greater probability than not that would be me. I would get sick.
You'd be surprised. Very few people do it. And then we went right back up a load or two later, and he did great.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Most people just get in their own head about it and don't trust themselves. And I get it. It's scary. The first skydive you do by yourself, there's no amount of explaining I can do that will make it not seem sketchy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, 100% get it.
It's why am I leaving this perfectly good plane?
Yeah, and like the planes I learned on, the smaller ones, I had to actually climb out on the step. It wasn't a door and I jumped. I had to fucking climb out on this thing while it's flying, holding on with my instructor and be like, "Are you ready?" Yeah. Super sketch.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. No, I would freeze up. I would go full fetal position. I would claw onto something like a cat trying to avoid a bath. And I would make a scene. People would think that I was getting raped. I would just be screaming.
Yeah, so we don't skydive unless you want to skydive. Even though you've paid for it, if you don't want it for yourself, I'm not forcing you out of that plane. If you're strapped to me as a tandem, and yeah, we'll probably be going. But usually when we get down, they're like, "Thanks for doing that. I didn't think I could do it. It was a great time." Like, cool, here for you.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I know I would freak out. Can you go back and touch on that though, about people that you said? And it's not them freezing up, but it's them blanking, and you're like, "Hey,
oh yeah,
you're not in a good spot." What is that? So that's not them. That's not them freaking out and saying I can't do it. That's them being like, blanking.
Well, so we have a lot of ground courses and stuff that teach you the basics of skydiving before we go up, so you have a general understanding of it. Because when we're teaching you to skydive, I'm holding on to you like training wheels, but at some point I have to let you go, and you'll be flying your own parachute by yourself. So if you can't tell me before the jump A to Z what's going to happen and what you're going to do, then I can't trust that you're going to do it in the 1 minute of free fall we have and the 3 to 5 minutes of the parachute flying that you're going to have to do. Mm-hmm. I can't walk you through every single step and be there every step of the way. At some point you have to do it. And if you can't tell me all these steps, what you're going to do in an emergency procedure when I'm not there, if you can't do it in a controlled environment, you're not going to be doing it in a dynamic environment.
Okay.
So
you just kind of have to draw the line.
Yeah, because a lot of people are too timid to say no themselves.
Yeah. Now, is there anyone that tries to, like, it's the opposite of, like, you can't make it go? They're like, fuck it. No, I'm ready. Fuck you. I'm ready.
Yeah. A lot of people are, especially guys, are overconfident in themselves when they don't know what they don't know. And so they just want to do it. And, the younger you are, the more it happens, generally speaking, because you have more of a point to prove. But yeah, there are some people that are like that. And I'm like, look, man, slow down. Tell me what to do. And they're like, hey, man, I know what to do. You're like, all right, what about this situation? Exactly my point.
Okay.
Right. So, yeah. Usually it's like the 18 to 25 group and or the military guys, because the guys that go through military free fall training are the absolute worst.
Yeah, you said that. Is it Sky Kings? Sky Gods?
Sky Gods, yeah. And then, I don't remember if it was before or after the last podcast that we did, but I saw it was probably 4 or 5 months ago. One of these military free fall guys flying a fully steerable parachute decides to land on the end of the runway at the same exact moment the plane's trying to touch down in that same exact spot, and the plane had to dodge him.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then probably a month ago, maybe a little bit more than that, we had a freshly licensed jumper that wasn't flying his parachute correctly, and it just was kind of flying him where it wanted to go. And he allowed himself to drift all the way over onto the runway and land as the plane was touching down, and the pilot swerved as far to the right of the runway as he could to miss him. And had he not done that, he probably would have killed the guy. And the guy was nothing but excuses. Oh, the wind blew me over here. The wind was actually blowing the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Oh, all these other things. I'm like, look, man, you fucked up.
Just own it.
Like, own it. Learn from it. You're going to get grounded the rest of the day because all of us saw it, including the owner.
Yeah.
And he has every right to be very upset about that.
Absolutely.
And, some people just don't comprehend the danger they could have been in with skydiving. It's as dangerous as you let it be.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you are jumping out of a fucking plane. You're just jumping. And
you're flying a steerable parachute. So if you steer it onto the runway and get hit by a plane, that's on you.
Yeah. Let's see if I can pull them up. Those videos you sent me.
Which one? Oh, yeah. The sunsets, we call it swooping across the pond.
Do you care if I pull that up?
Yeah, they're not me.
Yeah, it's
I'll give you a second to do that because I got to take a leak. You can pause it if you want to.
I got you. No, I'm gonna pull it up, but yeah, you can get
Okay.
it. I'm gonna pull it up for everybody watching. It's yeah.
Who the fuck is this guy? He's good. Yeah. Oh, he's calling.
Fucking Jesus. Oh man. And then he sent me this one. This one's badass.
Oh yeah, buddy! Woo! Here's the next one. Yeah, buddy! Woo!
That's so badass.
Nice.
But that other guy fucking ate it. Do that one again.
Who the fuck is this guy?
He's good.
Yeah. Oh, he's calling.
Oh. Jesus Christ. That was brilliant.
All right, I'm back. Untangling my headphones.
That was brilliant. I just watched those two videos. Yeah, I mean the second, the guys that do it well, they do it well. That's sexy. You know, like
yeah, it looks super cool in person to do, and it's super cool to do yourself.
Sure.
If you mess it up, the water hurts a lot less than the ground. So that's why a lot of people do it over water. You don't tend to break as many bones when you fuck it up.
Yeah.
But the other thing is when you're the first guy down and the water's smooth, your depth perception can be quite off. And even if it's only off by 6 or 12 inches, that matters when you're trying to touch your toe in versus digging your knee in.
Yeah.
And once you dig in, you just tumble and can hurt yourself. So
yeah, that guy that was doing the flips though.
So it's a perspective thing. It's not actually flips. You can do them in higher performance canopies, but from the perspective you're looking at it, he's actually just turning. And basically all we're doing when we call it swooping is we're just diving the parachute towards the ground by doing circles and building up all this speed. And then we level out and use all that extra speed to glide across the water. And as we level out, we're losing speed. So if you set up too far on the backside of we call it a swoop pond, you're not going to make it out the other end dry. You're going to go swimming.
Yeah.
If you set up too close, you come out with all this extra speed and have to pop up over the bank. And where we have it, you have a fuel pump, a windsock, and some concrete. So
not exactly beanbags, yeah.
Yeah, not exactly beanbags. So it's kind of safer to just set up too far and go swimming than it is for you to pop out the end. But the problem with going swimming is all your gear gets soaked. Isn't a problem in and of itself because it can dry out. It's the fact that your reserve parachute has to get inspected and repacked again by an FAA certified rigger after everything dries, which usually takes a good day or two. And then to repack it and everything is $75, $85.
Yeah.
So that one jump, while it was fun, got real expensive and took some effort to unfuck afterwards.
Yeah.
So I've got a video of me going into the water because my reserve parachute was due for a repack anyway. So fuck it. Why not send it into the water?
Yeah.
And the first time I made it about halfway across the pond before I ran out of speed and just went in. The second time, while all my gear was wet, I figured I'd take it for another jump. The second time I set it too close and ended up making it out. And we have a sand exit. That way, if we hit it, it's just sand instead of solid ground.
Yeah.
Because I was soaked in the process of doing it and I went tumbling through the sand, I basically turned myself into a giant sugar cookie. So I had to clean all that off, all my gear and everything, and myself, and I was super sandy and everything, but it was a good time.
Is the noise? That
the
noise,
whistling?
Yeah,
it's the lines. the wind going past the line. So the suspension lines on the canopy are actually, even though they're super tiny, are what contribute a lot of the drag. So the thinner the lines you can make, the faster the canopy itself will go. But the shorter the lifespan of the lines is. So my canopy this past weekend, I actually had the lines replaced on it.
Okay.
And I won't get it back until this week, but they're slightly larger than fat dental floss, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got that whistling, cutting noise.
Yeah. But basically those videos, the first guy, if I can remember right, his name is George. He's on like a yellowish something canopy. He dips in and comes out the side. He's a pretty competent skydiver. The second guy with I want to say the blue canopy, his name is Austin Crandall. He skims across, makes it out just fine. The third guy with the green parachute, that was Silas. And he said, like, yeah, I messed up and I dipped in a little far, bounced a little bit, and he's fine.
I don't know if it was someone watching or someone that was standing nearby made a sound or something.
It was us collectively, basically.
It sounds like someone kind of went like kind of made that noise, because right when he hits the ground after the water, it's like it's synced up perfectly that I thought he like shattered his leg.
No, I mean, we thought he could have hurt himself because he kind of bounced in some weird ways. And I don't remember specifically what sound you're talking about, but it could also just be the canopy itself hitting something, or the water, or the ground, or whatever, because they make noise, especially when they're newer. It sound like a big bag of Fritos.
It sounded like snapping.
Yeah, that might have just been the canopy.
Man, that's a brilliant line. Yeah, we thought he hurt himself because he bounced in a weird way.
A week or two prior, he had done the pond before and overshot at the end, and he had slid over top of one of the little concrete paver stones they have out there, and like his ankle twisted. So it was sore, and then we thought he hit the same thing again, and or his leg in a weird way, or his hip. So we were just kind of concerned for a second, but he popped up and we knew he was good to go.
Yeah. Fuck that. Well,
yeah, you can tumble pretty good as long as you don't hit anything too hard.
Yeah. Fuck that. That seems terrifying. But I said I'd let you go in an hour, and it's 1:35, and I don't want you to get caught in that traffic. So
no, we're good. We can go a little longer if you want to. Finish up elaborating on the whole Skydive Dubai thing, since we kind of
we did
cracked off of that.
Hey, well, you need a monologue because I got to go piss.
All right, you can pause it or whatever.
No, you got a monologue, Sean. I'll put you on the spot.
Ah, damn it. So you had asked me about talking about jumping over Skydive Dubai. You require 1,000 jumps to jump over there. And my first jump, they made me fly down by myself. The second jump, I actually got to wingsuit over it. And one of the reasons I wanted to wingsuit over the Palm Island in Dubai is because when I was starting skydiving, I had seen a picture on Instagram of someone doing it. And that was one of my goals that I had set for myself, was to, at one point in my lifetime, skydive or wingsuit over the Palm Island in Dubai. So when I took a job over in the United Arab Emirates, I was now able to go do that. And it was cool to do, to get the pictures and everything. But once I checked that box, I was kind of just done with it and moving on to the next thing. So pinch it off, squeeze it out, hurry it up. Surprised he can actually still hear me.
Unlike most people, I'm 90% H2O.
Yeah, I seem to remember you staying pretty hydrated from the other podcasts that we've done.
Yeah, it was I've gotten better at controlling it. Yeah, you're right. I completely. Yeah, I wasn't trying to kick you off. I just know you said that you've got a brutal.
No, you're good. We got 10, 20 more minutes or whatever.
Okay. Well, yeah. For the Skydive Dubai thing, are you gonna go back?
Probably not, for a couple reasons. One, I've jumped at Skydive Dubai, so I've checked that box. Two, that is a long way over there. It's halfway across the world. Yeah. So it's an expensive plane ticket, and I don't particularly enjoy the desert of the Middle East.
Yeah.
Three, once I left the UAE last year, they still seem to think that I owe them about $1,400, because when I left, I told them to cancel all of my telecom accounts, my phones and everything. And I requested it multiple times, and they failed to do so for one of my lines. And they continued to send me a monthly invoice for these services that I was no longer using. And I told them I wasn't going to use, and I was not in the country anymore anyways. And so I think after like 5 or 6 months, they eventually shut off the line and sent me these notices that, hey, you owe, I think it was $1,400. and they sent it to some collection agency or something over there. And so they send me an email every now and then, and I keep replying back like, you didn't cancel my lines when I told you I was leaving. And so I have this thing that if I go back to the Gulf region of the Middle East, they're probably going to ask me to pay $1,400 before I can enter the country, or probably get thrown in jail or something.
Yeah.
So I would just rather not deal with that right now. And maybe if I wait long enough, they'll just kind of get over it and forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had that happen with like gym memberships. Like, you still owe us this. I'll be like, I haven't been in that state in 3 years. Why the fuck would I keep it? Yeah, no, fuck them. But, you know, it's different when it's a gym membership in a college town in Georgia that I don't plan on going back to versus the Middle East, right?
The whole Middle East. But generally speaking, most people can keep themselves from accidentally ending up in the Middle East when they don't intend to. So
most people.
Yeah, it should be fairly easy to do.
Yeah, you don't I took a wrong turn and, you know.
Yeah, ended up in the Middle East.
I was in Riyadh. Yeah, no, fuck that. Yeah, no, fuck that. So that answers that question.
But what kind of sucks is I lived in Abu Dhabi, which is just below Dubai, and next to Ferrari World, they were building the world's largest indoor skydiving wind tunnel, which is a 32-foot diameter, which is absolutely enormous. Because the biggest one in the U.S. is either 14 or 16 feet.
Okay.
So this thing is ungodly big, and it kept burning down and everything, so they had delays, and they were building it the entire time I was there.
Burning down?
Yeah, the safety building code over in the Middle East is not quite what it should be.
That's an odd setback. It kept burning down.
It did it at least once. It might have been twice. I know it did it once, so anyways.
More than never is too much.
Yes, I would agree. However, they were working on it the entire time that I lived there. And then the month after I left, they ended up opening it.
Naturally.
So I would love to go over there and just go fly around that ginormous wind tunnel. But I don't really care that much.
Yeah.
I would have liked to while I was there. I would have definitely spent some time there.
What other cool shit is in Dubai? I mean, you spent that much time over there. Or is it just Skydive Dubai in particular that?
I mean, it depends on what you're into. Dubai itself is actually fairly cool to go to for, you know, a week or so, especially if you know someone in the area and know how things work. Okay. You got the Burj Khalifa, which is the world's tallest building at 2,700 feet or whatever. Yeah, I love they have the world's largest mall, I believe, over there. Yeah, it's like a giant mall complex right there. And they have the, it's like Vegas with the fountains, but it's bigger. And so they have these, every night they have the synchronized light and fountain shows, which are pretty cool. The whole side of the Burj Khalifa is one giant LED screen, so they can do all sorts of like videos and all sorts of cool stuff on there. What else? They have, you know, the World Islands, if you want to go visit that. They have the Palm Island, which is, you know, cool to visit and everything. The Atlantis Resort is there, which is cool to go to. They have a, brunches are a really big thing over in the UAE. Brunches are always happening, and the Atlantis Resort has probably the best brunch there, to my knowledge, and I went to it, and it was excellent. Just ungodly amounts of anything you could eat, sushi, drinks, everything. Let's see. There's a lot of boating and stuff you can do out there. There's all sorts of food from all over the world and some just world-class chefs out there. The little Salt Bay dude is out there. Yeah, that guy. Gordon Ramsay has a bunch of restaurants out there.
Really?
Yeah.
Guess that
at least one.
I don't know. I'm surprised. It makes sense.
Yeah, there's at least one. I don't remember the details on it. Let's see what else. There's a lot of history stuff you can do over there. In Abu Dhabi, where I live, they have the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque, which is one of the larger mosques in the world, and it's all white marble, and it's actually pretty impressive to visit, and it's totally free. So I've been there a couple of times. Let's see what else. The world's highest sand dunes are out in the UAE, which are like 900,000 feet or something like that. I got like 2/3 of the way up and gave up on climbing that thing.
Jesus.
Yeah. Let's see what else is there. They keep building more stuff. Dubai was supposed to have the Expo 2020 this year, but due to COVID, that got postponed for a year. And it's a giant expo that lasts for like, I want to say 5 or 6 months, with almost every country in the world showing up. I guess just displaying what each country has to offer. I couldn't tell you more specifics on that without
kind of like. Is that kind of like the World's Fair kind of
I
thing?
Guess. I think that's what they were going for, but I don't really know a lot about it.
Like they displayed electricity at the one in New York, and it was like
something like
technology. That. Yeah.
And they're building a lot of stuff for that in Dubai. Let's see, what else do they have there? They have some decent beaches and stuff like that. What else do we do? We did some hiking out in the mountains, which was pretty cool. Where we went to a place called Wadi Shaka, where there was just you're kind of almost hiking to an oasis to go swim around.
That's insane.
That's all that's coming to mind at the moment. I mean, like, there's stuff to do out there and kill time, but it's not somewhere that I would want to live. You get to see the excess of Dubai and all these giant buildings and stuff like that. Dubai has, for lack of better words, like a river running through it, man-made. And one of my buddies over there, we took out his boat on a couple occasions. And there's one bridge in particular that comes to mind when you go under. It's like a constant waterfall with LEDs and everything in it. But as you approach, it parts the waterfall so you can go through. And then it continues once you're past it.
Fucking Dubai. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
There's that. And Dubai's a global hub for travel too. So you're like, I used to take on the weekends, I'd basically run away to Europe for a weekend. It's like to Munich and everything. I could get a direct flight from Dubai or Abu Dhabi to Munich round trip for like $250 or something. So I'd go there. It's a 6-hour flight. You get on there, you fall asleep, you wake up in Europe, you spend the weekend there, and you fly back.
Fuck you.
So awesome. It's just a lot more attainable to do it over there.
Because you're kind of equidistant from a lot more shit.
Yeah, and it's just a straight up direct flight, and they just have such a volume of flights that go in and out of there that it's just pretty easy to do.
Have you ever been on an A380?
I have.
Really?
Actually.
I've never been on one, dude. I'm fucking obsessed with them.
So I came back mid last year in late May. I was either going back to the U.S. or I was going to do the Isle of Man TT races over off the coast of Ireland on the Isle of Man. I don't know if you know about that. Where they go ripping through the basically there's this Isle of Man, which is the name of it, and it's off the coast of Ireland, and the entire island basically gets shut down and turned into a giant racetrack. So if you've ever seen the videos of those sport bikes just blasting through this old town at like 180, that's the Isle of Man.
Okay.
The whole place turns into like, I think it's a 35-mile circuit around.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So I was going to go to Dublin, do the whole Guinness factory thing, and then hop on a flight over there to watch it. And then I checked the forecast. It was going to be rain for a week. So I canceled that, and I ended up coming home to the U.S. And I was flying out of, it was Abu Dhabi that time, on an Etihad flight, and it was an A380. And that fucker's big. So I was sitting on the left side just in front of where the wing started, and I looked out, and you don't really have a scale of how big it is until you're sitting in there. And while we were sitting on the ramp, I just kind of fell asleep in my chair because I had worked night shift, and I was basically hopping on that plane, and I was just going to sleep on the plane. And I woke up and looked out, and we were moving, and I thought we were taxiing. And then, because we weren't going what seems like that fast, and then suddenly it just takes off. And I'm like, what the fuck? How are we flying? I thought we were doing like 30 miles an hour. Oh. But because it's so big, you don't really have a sense of how fast it's moving.
Yeah.
It just took off. And I was like, huh, that's quite interesting.
That's insane.
But I mean, aside from that, I wouldn't really like the upper decks or anything like that. I mean, first class, it was just economy because it's cheapest round trip.
Yeah.
But I mean, big old plane. No complaints about it, really.
Yeah. Do you say no complaints about it? I thought
no complaints, but
I thought you were saying. I thought you were gonna make a pun. I was gonna be like, Sean, that's strike one, buddy. You get two more, and then you're banned from the podcast.
I'm not that good.
Yeah. But then shit. I guess that strike works against me. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, I got 2 more strikes, and I'm just gonna hand off the podcast to Sean. It'll be Sean cast. Oh, but it's. Yeah, I was not that you give a fuck, and not that anyone asked. I don't know, out of like nowhere, I got. I'm getting the warning for my podcast with you in 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
It's I was fine with flying forever, and then I don't know what the fuck happened in like 2011. I just got terrified of it for no reason, and then it just went away in 2016. Point being, is since then I've always wanted to go on a 747 and an A380.
The 747s are almost impossible to do now because everybody's retiring them.
Yeah, they're up.
And it's even the A380s. The problem is it's almost not cost efficient to get 4 engines running when you can have 2 larger, more efficient ones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the 77. The 77. Yeah.
777s and the 787s, A350s. So in the year that I went over to the UAE to the year I came back, I had traveled quite a bit because I had the means to do so. I think I counted, I was on almost 30 individual flights.
Yeah.
in that 1 year. So I was flying all the time, and I flew enough that I figured out which large aircraft I actually preferred. The 777's cool. If you sit in the very back, because I got like one of the last row seats one time where the fuselage kind of tapers in, you get a little extra room because they don't have room for a third seat there, but it's a bit noisier because you're behind the engines.
Yeah.
The 787 is all composite aircraft, and it's got the oblong windows that you can change. Yeah, you can change the opacity of it.
Oh, fuck.
There's not a shade. You just press the button and it gets dark and gets light, which is super cool. Yeah, you can actually look up videos of them. Those are pretty cool, and they're overall pretty smooth and quiet. However, their engines are really fucking loud when they start up on the ramp for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then the Airbus A350, I finally got a flight on when I was officially leaving Dubai. I was flying on British Airways from Dubai to London Heathrow.
Okay.
And I ended up getting lucky and got an entire row to myself. But that plane was super smooth and super quiet, and hands down, if I have to choose a big plane to fly on now, it's going to be the A350.
Really?
And British Airways is pretty awesome too. I fell asleep and basically woke up in London.
Just smooth.
Yeah.
Have you seen those new GE90 engines?
Yeah, the ones that are on the 777s and stuff like that. Yeah, I have a buddy that flies or used to fly 777s for Emirates.
Really?
Yeah.
You think you can get him on the podcast?
I mean, I could ask.
You can ask. I mean, hey, it's a 95%. It's a 95% rejection rate. Like, no bullshit. It's a 95% rejection rate. So, yeah, ask. I don't give a fuck. He'll probably say no, but
yeah,
that would be really cool.
He used to travel. He lived in Dubai, so I'd always go up and hang out with him. We'd go to brunches and get on his boat and everything. But he would travel all over the world. You know, we'd have WhatsApp was the thing over there because you'd have to pay for each individual SMS. But he'd be texting me. He's like, all right, I'm in South Africa, but I'll be home tonight if you want to hang out. And he'd bring things from all over the world. So he'd bring like wines from Europe and everything. And he brought some ostrich meat from South Africa one night that we grilled up. Never got any kangaroo meat from Australia, but he'd text me and be like, hey, I'm going back to the States for a day. Do you need anything? And I'd get him to pick me up things from the States because, you know, he could carry on basically whatever he wanted. So I had him pick me up there's like $1 boxes of Kraft mac and cheese from Walmart.
Fuck yeah.
Because over there, they're like $5 each, and they're hard to find. So like, hey man, mac and cheese if you don't mind. You brought me back a suitcase full of them.
I wonder how much that actually ended up costing. Like not to you, but like it cost somebody to fly him over the ocean.
Well, the thing was, like, he was the pilot flying the whole plane from Dubai to the U.S. So he was going regardless. He can just stuff a suitcase with whatever he wants.
That's what I mean. I mean, somewhere someone paid for it. There was a value of it, right? Yeah. That's what I mean. I wonder what the actual cost was.
I don't know. Quite a bit. Those things aren't cheap to fly.
No. And I know for a fact it's cheaper that in the U.S. we'll ship an entire ship of like clams or something, like not oysters. I don't know what, shrimp.
Overseas.
We'll send it to China, have them take the shell off and bring them back. It's cheaper to do that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's weird. But yeah, with the A380, I hate to see it, but yeah, they're taking them out of service because they just can't. They don't make as much money as just a bunch of medium-sized planes doing more.
For them to be cost efficient, they have to be almost completely filled every time. Yeah, which especially right now is just not happening.
But I'm pretty sure that some companies, once COVID started, they kind of accelerated their retirement program for them because they were going to phase them out. I think a couple turned them into cargo planes.
Probably. Because they're quite large. And then I want to say KLM was retiring their last 747s recently. It might have been KLM, might have been Qantas, can't remember. Yeah. Somebody was doing it. Because I never got to fly on one either because I always wanted to. But the 380, if you look at the dimensions, they're, I think, slightly larger than the 747s.
The A380s are, they're larger.
The 777s are very, very close in comparison to the 747s. Yeah. But they're phenomenal planes regardless. The A380s I know had some issues with the wings and stuff like that because they're all aluminum, to my knowledge, or not a lot of composites. Yeah. And so basically by the time it got developed and rolled out, it was almost out of date. Yeah. Well, and the Dreamliner started development in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's composite and everything, and it's much more efficient.
Yeah. I mean, it's a money maker to it's less sexy, but it's the moneymaker. I mean, like the plane, and even the plane is sexy. I mean, like in general, it's not the biggest double-decker airplane.
Yeah.
Like it's, it's like you're going to make more money with Uber than you are driving a bus.
If they had an A380 in an all-coach setup, I think it could hold over 800 people.
That's insane. Yeah, there were plans for the A380-8 or the Dash 900 and the Dash 1000. And it was because I didn't know this, but it's actually not at its full. Its wings are rated for a bigger fuselage. They built that in for because they knew it would be cheaper to just build bigger wings from the get-go. And if they wanted scale up, so it's not even scale. It's not even in its final form for them. But
what's possible via math and what's possible via your bottom line are two separate things in this case.
Absolutely.
So
I'm so upset that I get it, but that the new order for the new Air Force One isn't going to be an A380. It's going to be a new 747-8. I think 8I is what it is.
You got to realize Airbus is European.
Yeah, well, it's bad optics too.
Yeah.
When they build them here, you're not just snagging them off the flight line. It's like the Secret Service and I guess other government agencies are there from like you choosing what composites you're using, because they don't. Are you putting a bug built into the wall? Are you making are you putting in bubbles where something might stress fracture? They watch it. From the documentary I watched, they said Air Force One is its similarities with the 747 are 4 engines and the shape, and that's about it. They said the inside, they said it's something completely else. It's just it's wearing the puppet. It's wearing the mask of a 747 because you want to have that mass-produced thing. So anywhere you go, the pieces are basically there.
They fit, if you need it.
As opposed to having like, a hyper unique plane, right?
Yeah, and if I understand correctly, the 747s they bought for it were actually bought by some sort of, I think, Russian diplomat or something, and they ended up not delivering on it. So they just snagged those, and they're just going to modify them. Double check me on that, but I think that's what ended up happening.
Fucking A. But God, I would have loved to have seen the A380 become the Air Force. I've seen some like mock-ups of an A380 Air Force One.
Oh yeah, they need a new paint scheme in my opinion. But the 747 is a very iconic American plane.
Yeah.
It's basically the plane that shrunk the size of the world in half, as some people would say it.
Yeah, the Queen of the Skies. Yeah.
Queen of the Skies, basically.
But I feel like they need to do an A380 because, like the first Air Force One, like FDR had a plane that wasn't officially one. Truman's was the first like regularly used one, and it was called the Sacred Cow, which is kind of weird. And Truman used to actually shit. He'd have the pilot dump the septic tank over the states of the senators he didn't like. Truman was fucking crazy. He'd come out, like, pants around his ankles, like screaming. They said he'd be like manic. Kind of weird. I guess it makes sense. He's the guy that dropped the bombs.
If you go to the U.S. Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, they have, I think, 2 Air Force Ones right now. They have the Constellation from way back in the day.
Eisenhower's, yeah.
Eisenhower's, and then they have the
JFK's.
7 whatever it was that JFK was using.
Yeah.
And then they have a little King Air hanging from the ceiling. That's Air Force One, essentially, because whatever he's on, it becomes Air Force One.
It's
but they have the presidential one hanging up there above those two. And then I think they said they were going to get one of the 747s or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Of course, it's, years in advance, but someone's getting it. I think it's them.
I mean, I don't know who else would get it, right? It's
them. It's going to get it because they got all the other cool stuff. They've got the only Valkyrie in existence.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Oh, the XB-70.
Yeah, the only one that's left is in their museum.
Oh, that thing is.
You need to go see it in person.
I know I do. It is. I am in love with that plane.
Yeah, go see it in person, along with the A-12 that they have and
the upstart.
Yeah, and then they've got a B-2 in there. One of my buddies actually was on the B-2 project back in the 90s.
Oh, shit.
And he was telling me about it. He's like, when I first saw that and stood inside of the bomb bay of it, I just kind of sat there and thought, this is the most deadly weapon that has ever been essentially developed in the world, and I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
I had episode 161 of this podcast, Brigadier General Robert Spalding, B-2 Spirit pilot, retired pilot. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. He he's more famous. He was in Obama's National Security Council and was removed for raising flags about China's monopoly on 5G infrastructure. And he wrote the book Stealth War, How China is Waging a Silent War Against the U.S. Fantastic book, terrifying. But he was also, amongst other things, just so happened to be a former B-2 Spirit pilot. And I asked him about it at the very end. I was like, what's it like to fly it? And he goes, it's the first time he smiled the whole thing. He goes, it's amazing. He goes, it's the single most deadly weapons platform ever developed by man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm flying it.
Yeah. It's just, yeah. It's when I first started that pot, you can go look at it. When you start, this guy is staring through my fucking soul. Just stoic. He's a cool guy. I email him and he's a neat guy. He's a fun guy. But like, I was like, this guy's staring through my soul. And then it like dawned, I kind of relaxed a couple minutes in. I'm like, it makes sense because this guy's a B-2 Spirit pilot. Like they don't recruit pussies. It's but
there's only like 20 or 30 of them in existence to fly. So you got to choose wisely.
Yeah. B-21 Raider's supposed to be coming out, and they said that they might be deploying them to the South China Sea by the end of 2021.
Might.
Hint. Yeah. That, and I mean, in October 2013, November 2013, Lockheed Martin Skunk Works said that they've begun development on the SR-72.
Yeah, I saw something about that, but we'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah, I mean, there have been rumors of a replacement since like the 80s, but they said Mach 6.
Yeah, hypersonic stuff is all the rage. I got a buddy that actually works on hypersonic weapons down here.
Fuck yeah! I think I tried to get you to get him on.
I don't think so.
Can you try?
He won't tell you anything.
I guarantee. I got it. Yeah.
I got because I've talked to him before at his house, and I was like, hey, like when these things come in, like don't they create a big plasma thing around them that's like super easy to find on radar? And he's like, yeah, like got you on something. That's what you're working on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's I tried to get on Dr. Don't let me keep you, by the way. I'm going to keep talking because I can keep talking. You tell me when you gotta go.
I'll go in a few. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, you tell me. I got in touch with back in like July, Dr. Al Romig, Romig, the former head of Skunk Works.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to have this guy on. It's going to be great. And he was like, yeah, why don't you like field some questions for me? So I was like, all right. So I went on to Reddit and I went to our special access programs, which is like a step above TSSCI. And everyone's like, oh, I got these. And it's people that it's more than just like, what's the fastest plane we have? You know, it's actual like geeks, kind of like we're geeking out right now. It's like, oh, ask them about this and that. So I sent him this list of questions. And he was like, I'm going to have to cancel the podcast. He's like, there are a lot of things that like I can't talk about. And he's like, this is kind of the scope of these questions are a lot different than I thought they would be. And I was like, we can dial it back. Like I can play stupid. I can ask. And he was like, I'm going to have to refuse. And I was like, motherfucker. So I tried to impress him with like, I think that ended up being my downfall.
I know someone you could podcast pretty easily with, probably pretty easily, but very interesting. Bill Booth, the guy I told you that had jumps into the poles and developed the tandem skydiving system. He's got a lot of really cool videos on YouTube that kind of go through his life, how he developed it, all his experiences and everything. And he lives in DeLand, Florida, and I think he also has some sort of lake house up in the New England area where you are.
Yeah.
But he's a really chatty, friendly guy. He's got a huge beard that's like down to here.
Yeah. I remember you talking about
you might be able to get him on there, and he could probably talk for several hours.
Fuck yeah.
But if you do that, I would probably suggest actually, fielding questions, watching his stuff first and figuring out what you would want to ask him and write it down.
No, someone those bigger guests. I try to find books or articles on them. I try to do my research, not just but you jump out of planes, right?
Yeah. For example, like he's the guy that developed it, and in the early days, the cable housings that have the cables that release the risers if you have a emergency or anything like that, they were made out of old phone booth cables, that braided stuff that goes to the end of it. Right. But the thing was, when he was building these rigs early on, if you wanted those hard housings, you had to supply it yourself. So everybody was just robbing all of these phones just for that cable for their skydiving rigs. And eventually he found a manufacturer or a supplier that would actually supply it to him instead of everybody having to steal it from all the payphones.
Fuck that. I'm gonna write down.
Just little things like that. His name is Bill Booth.
Yeah, I just wrote it down. And if I did that, I would get your help to field questions, so it wasn't just like a totally like, because people like that, it's like it's very clear that I'm having them on because they'd be a bigger guest, right? And more viewers. But because of that, I don't want to just like. That's why I try to really research guests, because I'm like, I don't want to just bring them up here and like, look at my new trophy, everybody, subscribe, like, and share. And it's like, because that's just like a fuck you to them. So I try to actually, learn
if you watch his whole video, I think I found it on YouTube. I could probably find it later for you. It's like an hour, 2 hours on just his life and development through everything. You could probably generate pages of just talking points, not even questions, but just talking points.
At least something informed. Yeah. What I would do. Yeah. I try to make it worth their time and actually ask them something unique.
Yeah, you could also, the people that somewhat regulate the skydiving community are called the USPA, the United States Parachute Association. I'm sure for publicity, the head of the USPA or some of those people would be willing to do a podcast with you as well.
Fuck yeah.
I have to pay their membership dues every year, which reminds me I need to do that this month to keep my ratings current. But they do a lot of stuff for skydivers that skydivers always bitch about having to pay for the yearly memberships and everything, but they kind of keep the FAA off your back and make all the rules and regulations, because if the FAA does it, they just shut you down.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, ban hammer for everything.
Just fuck you. Yeah, it's like ban. So, you do it right, ban.
So the USPA kind of insulates us from the FAA.
Little barrier, yeah. I saw, kind of going back to what you're saying about hypersonics, I saw a recent article, it's probably been around forever, but recently declassified, about how they found that like putting a laser on the front of a hypersonic craft or warhead, they used the laser to like flash heat the air, right?
Make it thinner.
Well, and then it creates a plasma in kind of like putting the ablative material on the X-15. They create like almost a burning shield in front of the actual warhead as opposed to on it, and it allows for things that would normally go Mach 5 to Mach 6. They said they can get these fuckers cooking up to like Mach 15, Mach 16. Like
Jesus.
Yeah, like insane. Like they said it wasn't like a marginal increase. It was like a 200 to 300% increase in speed. So you just ablate the material, or like literally the air. They heat up the air right in front of it, and it's like an artificial perpetual heat shield.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense.
Yeah.
I also know someone else that you could do that might be interesting in the wingsuit skydiving world. The guy that started the company Squirrel, who makes all the wingsuits, which people always call every wingsuit squirrel suits. His name is Matt Gerdes, Mattgerdes, and you can find all this information and stuff on his website. It's squirrel.wingsuit or .ws. I can just send it to you here in the chat.
Okay.
He could talk all about development of wingsuits and stuff like that. And there's a lot of interesting people there. You could probably turn into 1, 2, 3 hour podcasts as well.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah, man. Anyone whatsoever, please. And anyone listening, please just comment or email me, tommyspodcast@gmail.com. Last week, I had on that guy that investigates medical serial killers, Special Agent Bruce Sackman.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a terrifying thing to consider. These doctors will have kill counts 60, 70, 80, 90. Just, psychopaths. And, but yeah, I was like, can you put me in touch with someone? And he put me in touch with a guy I had on 2 days ago, Jack Garcia, 6'4", 390, undercover FBI agent, the only undercover FBI agent.
I saw something about that.
Yeah, to ever be. The Gambino family tried to turn him into a made man, and then they busted him. Yeah. But that was I just asked another guest. I'm like, can you put me in touch with anyone interesting? So I'm finding I need to do that more. Is use the net they already have.
Luke Aiken, the guy that jumped without the parachute into the net, you might be able to get him.
Luke Aiken?
Yeah, Lukeaikeen. He's the one that did that jump into the giant net with the parachute.
Yeah.
Matt Gerdes, I know, knows him fairly well. Okay. I've never met either of them, but I know just through the skydiving community, they know each other. I think they jump together.
Sure.
So you might be able to talk to that guy. I'm pretty sure he's on Facebook. You can probably just contact him there, or I don't know, some other way. Yeah, finding guests is always the weirdest. I found my own law. One is ghost rate. I found it's a natural law that there's a 95% ghost rate, and that's neither affirmation or rejection. It's just ghost. Yeah. Of the 5 that respond, I find it's a 4% rejection, 1% approval, which is fine if you're just willing to do the volume. Then you can get them. Yeah.
the other law I'm finding, Tommy's law, is the easier it is to find their contact information, the harder it is to get them on the podcast.
Yeah.
Just an inverse.
Which makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, if you throw my name out to any of those guys, you're gonna be like, who is that?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a skydiver, 2,700 jumps, like 2,600. Who cares? There's a bunch of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. I'll send them. Be like, hey, I've had on a skydiver. Yeah. No, it's always a weird kind of, you find someone and the way to go is like, sometimes you can find like an old, you'll find like their MySpace email they signed up with or something. And it's like
long shot.
Yeah. Well, no, it's actually, the more obscure the email is, the better the chance of getting a response. So like if you say, let's say like J.K. Rowling, right? If you went to like J.K. Rowling, like harrypotter.com, you're going to find an email that you're not going to get through to. But if you find like an old PayPal account from 2002 and it's like JKR119 kitty fan, those ones those are ones that people happen to just like, they check more because it's like a personal account. Or if it's not even their name whatsoever, if it's just like puppy fan 99. Oh yeah, when I see those, I'm like, fuck yeah, got them. Because it's just
another person would be, so the largest parachute manufacturer is called Performance Designs, and the head guy for that, his name is John LeBlanc, Leblanc, I believe. Also on Facebook, I'm pretty sure, but you can just call down. They're located in DeLand, Florida, and just ask for his contact info or something like that, or just find it online. And he's a pretty nice, easy guy to talk to. He's got a ton of videos out there online as well about how he developed these parachutes and stuff like that. He's super knowledgeable. And I even like reference his stuff a lot of times for students when they want to know something, like, look, here's this video that explains it a little bit. This is where I learned it, stuff like that.
Fuck yeah. All right, I've got a list.
Of the skydiving world, maybe you can get one of those guys to talk to you.
Yeah, like I said, I've got a list of hundreds of people, and I just nuke them all.
Another guy, he works with Red Bull a lot. He's located in Idaho, where you can legally jump off that bridge. His name is Miles Dasher. Okay. MilesDashier, I think. But you can just Google that one. He's a super cool and friendly guy. I've even jumped with him before, but he's got a lot of videos of him and Sky to Dubai and flying through mountains and stuff like that.
Fuck yeah.
So he's probably pretty easily contactable through Facebook as well.
Okay. I've got 7 total, 6 that I can contact on my own. 1, I need you to ask that, was it 777 pilot?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, as I just explained, it's 95%. I never expect anyone to say yes, so don't feel like sure. If he says fuck no, I'll be like, all right, that's fine. But
yeah, I'm assuming that's what will happen, but whatever.
Hey, you know what? Worth a try. If
you get enough interesting people. So
yeah. All right, my man. Well, do you want to wrap this bitch up?
Sure.
I got to go piss again. Dude, this is it only happens with the guests. It's like muscle memory. Because around episode 50, I've learned to stop drinking so much water.
It's called tactically dehydrating. If you're in the military, you'll learn that.
Okay. Well, there's something about an unconscious, there's a subconscious thing I do where when I have on one of like the OG guests, like you, I don't even realize it, but I end up drinking a lot more water. And it's almost some weird like muscle memory where I'm like, why am I pissing so much? I thought I got rid of this. And it only happens when I have on those early, it's some weird, like PTSD where it's like, you got to drink more water. You got to piss. And it's just, I don't know, man.
When you post this, you can't put Sean Cruz talks about Skydive Dubai. It's going to be Skydive Dubai, aircraft design, Air Force One, other interesting people to talk about.
Yeah.
You got to skip through everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'll name it one thing. I'll just say skydiving. I've gotten better at that where I try to choose one bulk topic. I try to choose like what was the most percentage. And I would say the most percentage was skydiving.
Something like that, yeah.
I used to try to fit everything in the titles.
You can put some skydiving stuff and others.
Skydiving and such.
Yeah.
Skydiving like and all. All right, my man. Well, thank you so much for doing it, man. And I'll put those pictures on the video. And thanks for that list of people. I'm going to try to reach out to them all today.
Let me know how it goes, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if I can get any of those bigger ones, I'm going to be hitting you up for question fielding. If not, I'll bring you on to walk me through it with them.
Yeah, I know that most of those, if not all of them, have so many videos online you can watch and generate a shit ton on your own and just talking points.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to outsource my work. Yeah. That's I got to do that. But if I can get some like insider questions from you.
Yeah.
All right, my man. Well, Safe travels. Don't die from the hurricane infrastructure wreckage.
Should be here in about 5 hours, I think. 4 hours.
There's another one coming?
Yeah, man. It's like our fucking 4th or 5th one.
I don't pay attention to shit. I didn't know till yesterday that there was a new Supreme Court justice. So fuck me. But
yeah, this has been a pretty active year for hurricanes.
2020 has been a little for everything.
Yeah, we took almost a direct hit here in Pensacola from a Category 2 about a month ago.
Fuck that.
And my apartment complex is nothing but blue tarps over the roofs because it ripped off the vents and shingles and everything like that. And I went flying yesterday to Gulfport, Mississippi, and just flying all along the coast. It's just nothing but blue tarps. Because I think Gulf Shores, Alabama was the one that took the direct hit, but they're not far from us at all because we're on the line essentially. Yeah. And everything just got wrecked.
So, I still have you. I got to ask.
Yeah.
Why do Floridians stay down there if this is just an annual thing? God just drags his dick through your city.
Well, here's this thing is, as long as it's not a super severe one, they're just going to stay just out of convenience alone because constantly running away from hurricanes is just annoying.
Just moving in general. Easier said than done. Just
yeah.
If I lived through one hurricane, I would be like, fuck this. I'm going to wherever, Montana or Georgia. I'm just gone forever. I just wouldn't do it again.
It depends on the severity. And this is something even I learned recently is it depends on if you're on the east or west side of it.
Okay.
I guess the east side is actually the more severe side of it.
Okay.
So if you're getting hit by the west side of it, it's going to be windy and rainy, but I
doable.
Dealt with it before, yeah.
But shit that destroys everything, in your words, blue tarping it.
Yeah, there's most of our buildings in our apartment complex here have blue tarps over them.
But
so luckily,
is it just the rest of the year? It's
until the roof gets replaced, yeah.
Well, what I mean is that why you stay? Because the rest of the time, it's I enjoy living here so much that I'm willing to do whatever, 30.
Yeah, there's positives and negatives to everything. You live in Boston or something?
I'm in Maryland right now.
Maryland,
yeah.
Yeah, you're in Maryland, so upsides, great seafood. Downsides, it's Maryland. It's cold as fuck. There's
no upsides. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Okay, good seafood. There's good seafood. There's not a lot of terrain you can hike or go mountain climbing on. The beaches, the beaches are pretty
Yeah.
So everything has a plus and minus to it. Florida, Florida, we have some of the world's best beaches down here. We have, I just got into diving recently. We have some of the world's best natural springs to dive, which I sent you a couple pictures of. We have good seafood, and it's really just a destination to go on vacation for a majority of the U.S. is down to Florida. So we got a lot of cool stuff here. The downside is, we have hurricanes.
I could see it if I lived there and fell in love with all of that shit. I could see it where it's more of it's just 2 years of the year that you kind of write off, or 2 months of the year that's kind of fucked, and you just, sometimes it gets worse than others. But
yeah, if you want to come down and visit sometime, feel free. I don't really care.
Dude, I'm going to come down and skydive. We're going to do an episode while skydiving. It's going to be me screaming and crying.
I take videos and stuff like that, so you can have those. But there's a lot of cool stuff down here. Once they fix some of the fucking bridges, you can go back to the Civil War forts down here and go to some of the natural springs and swim around. And
yeah, I've only been to Florida once. It was an interview at Miami Medical School in 2013.
Miami's such a different part of Florida. It's so far south. It's actually, so I'm from Kentucky. It is longer for me to drive to Miami than it is for me to drive home to Kentucky.
Jesus Christ.
Well, because Miami's the bottom right corner of Florida, which is a big L shape.
Yeah.
I'm in the top left corner at the very edge of where Alabama is.
Yeah.
So it's a long way down there for me.
Yeah, when I went down to Miami, I was like, if I get into med school here, I'm going to need just a white suit and reflective glasses. That's the only way you fit in.
I went to Miami last year with a buddy. We went down to the Keys for a couple of days, and we flew into Miami. And I knew there were a lot of Cubans and Hispanic people there. I didn't realize Spanish was the primary language spoke there.
Oh yeah, no, it's more like we have a U.S. embassy there, kind of.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And everybody's dressed like Pitbull.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. And my white ass is there, and I'm I'm interviewing at med school, and I'm I am not going to work out down here.
Yeah, and then we went to a Cuban restaurant called Versailles. It was the only reason I chose it is because it was the top rated one on Google with 12,000 reviews or something. Yeah. And it was cheap too. It was $12 for a plate, and I still think about that food to this day. That's how good it was.
Really?
Hands down, it was one of the best meals I've ever had.
I remember when I was walking to my interview, I remember seeing it was like glinting, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And there was just, I mean, it looked like from Grand Theft Auto, just a chromed out Lambo. Just not like a little bit of chrome. I mean, the whole thing.
A lot of chrome.
Yeah, just a lot. Yeah, the guy, you're right. The guy looked like Pitbull, just covered in diamonds and bling.
He's got the hat.
Yeah, and the girl with just like, they're not even trying to have real fake tits, just like the 90s, like beach ball tit. And it was just like, I loved it for what it was. Like, that's awesome. This is straight out of a video game, but I don't think I fit in here. And yeah.
Florida's got some cool places.
Yeah, my uncle did his residency at Jackson Memorial back in like the 70s or 80s, and I remember he told me when I was going to my interview, he was like, ask them if they're still the gunshot capital of the U.S. And we were there, and everyone's asking questions, and you're like, what is the food like? And, are there fun beaches? And I was like, do y'all still see more gunshot wounds than anyone else? And I remember like that got all of them to laugh, and they were like, we don't brag about that, but I was like,
yeah.
I was like,
I think St. Louis is actually up there for one of the top ones.
Maybe they took the crown. Well, I know that Jackson Memorial for a time did over 50% of organ transplants in the Western Hemisphere.
Impressive.
Fun fact. And it's also that uncle who went to Duke Medical School, fucking brilliant MD, headed up the Red Cross for a while. This guy's a genius. I remember him telling me, he said, take organ donor off your card. And I said, that's bullshit. He worked in the helicopter receiving zone for, I think, 6 years. He said, take organ donor off your card, because if it's not, he goes, I can tell you for a fact that there is a thriving black market willing and ready to pay, and they're not going to try as hard. Anyone else says that, I'd look at him like they're Alex Jones.
Yeah.
He said it, and this guy is as smart as they fucking come. Gets a little hairy.
Yeah, I've never heard anything to the contrary, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't really know. I did take organ donor off my card because it's, again, if anyone else said that, I'd be like, all right, man, tinfoil hat. Yeah, the world is flat. Not this guy. He was like, I'm just telling you. He's like, you don't have to, but I'm just telling you. He's like, you're going to be divvied up before that helicopter lands. Because there's a lot of money and a lot of old rich people who aren't going to get on a waiting list, but who can pad the pockets of anyone who's in charge. I don't know, man. Over 50% of organ transplants in the Western Hemisphere starts to get a little sketchy. So shout out to my Uncle Tom, and shout out organ harvesting. I guess go hustle. And this podcast has gone off into the weeds, so let's wrap this bitch up.
You can just cut that little bit out at the end.
Would you like me to? Because I'm not going to. I think it's awesome.
I don't care.
Would you like me to, Sean?
I don't care. I'm pretty impartial about that. It is your podcast.
It's my and that's my uncle. He's a physician, but maybe I can get someone off from Jackson Memorial. Defend your honor. Don't let me talk shit about organ harvesting.
Yeah, there's an episode for you right there.
Yeah, I don't know how the fuck. I had on a woman yesterday, Mitzi Purdue, who heads up an international anti-human trafficking fund, and they fight because one of the ending options for a trafficked woman: suicide, overdose, organ harvesting. It's one of those three.
That's interesting.
That's terrifying.
Well, yeah, but interesting for what it is.
Definitely interesting. Horrifying. Yeah. Well, for anyone that tuned in for skydiving, the first 95% of the podcast, you're probably fine. These last 5%, sorry you had to go down that rabbit hole with us, but hey, I don't know. I got nothing to say. Sean, I appreciate it, buddy. I'll text you. I'll text you when it's uploaded, and I'll reach out to those people today, or at least try to, and I'll be in the loop.
All right.
All right, my man. All right, God. Stay safe, buddy. Safe driving. Don't die. Fuck COVID. Fuck 2020.